Maya Lewis was known as a woman who never slowed down. She was the CEO of a rising manufacturing company that worked with advanced machines and smart systems. Her days were filled with meetings, numbers, and strict decisions. People around her said she was strong, confident, and very direct. Some admired her. Others feared her. Maya believed success came from control and discipline. She rarely questioned her own behavior. She had grown up in comfort, surrounded by people who praised her intelligence and leadership. Over time, she learned to speak before listening and judge before understanding. She trusted titles more than talent and appearances more than effort. It was not that she wanted to hurt anyone. She simply believed the world worked in clear lines. On a hot afternoon, Maya was on her way to visit a factory site outside the city. It was an important visit. Investors were watching closely, and any delay could affect future plans. Her luxury car moved smoothly along the road until a sudden sound broke the silence. The engine shook, then slowed, then stopped completely. The driver tried restarting it several times, but nothing worked. Maya checked her phone and sighed. There was no signal strong enough to call roadside service. The road was quiet, with old buildings and workshops scattered around. After a few minutes, the driver pointed toward a small auto repair shop nearby. The sign was faded, and the walls were marked with years of dust and sun. Maya frowned. This was not the kind of place she trusted. She stepped out of the car, clearly irritated. Her heels clicked against the rough ground as she looked around. The smell of oil and metal filled the air. From inside the shop came a man in simple clothes, wiping his hands with a cloth. His name was Daniel. Daniel was a mechanic who had worked with engines most of his life. He did not own expensive tools or a modern shop, but he had something more valuable. He understood machines deeply. He listened to engines like others listened to music. He believed every problem had a reason, and every reason had a solution. Daniel walked toward the car calmly and asked what had happened. Maya spoke quickly and sharply, explaining that the car was expensive and advanced. She questioned whether this small shop could handle such technology. Her tone was not friendly. Daniel did not argue. He nodded and opened the hood. He examined the engine carefully, checking wires, listening to small sounds, and feeling the heat of the metal. His movements were slow and thoughtful. Maya stood nearby with crossed arms. She looked at her watch again. Time felt heavy. She watched Daniel work and felt amused. In her mind, someone like him could not possibly fix a car like hers. She smiled in a way that carried pride more than humor, and spoke without thinking. She said that if he could fix the engine, she would marry him. Her voice carried laughter, but also disrespect. The words hung in the air. The driver looked away, uncomfortable. Daniel paused for a brief moment. He looked up at her, not angry and not surprised. His eyes were calm. He did not respond to the comment. He simply returned to his work. To Daniel, words meant little compared to actions. He had faced judgment many times before. He had learned that proving himself was better than defending himself. Maya felt confident again. She believed the joke had landed. She sent a message to her assistant explaining she might be late. She was already preparing to leave and arrange another car. Daniel continued working. He checked the fuel system, adjusted a small connection, and replaced a worn part using tools from his bench. His hands moved with certainty. Every action was careful. Time passed quietly. Finally, Daniel closed the hood and asked Maya to start the car. She hesitated for a moment. Then she turned the key. The engine came to life smoothly. The sound was steady and strong. It was better than before. Maya stared ahead, shocked. She turned the engine off and started it again. It worked perfectly. For the first time since arriving, Maya said nothing. Daniel stepped back and wiped his hands. He explained the problem simply and clearly. He did not brag. He did not mention her comment. He just did his job. Maya paid him quickly, thanked him briefly, and returned to the car. As the car moved away, her expression changed. The confidence she usually carried felt lighter. The jokes she made no longer felt funny. As she drove toward the factory, her thoughts wandered. She replayed the moment again and again. She wondered why his calm response had unsettled her more than anger would have. That evening, Maya could not focus during her meetings. The smooth voice of the engine echoed in her mind. So did Daniel's silence. Days passed, but the memory did not fade. A week later, Maya found herself driving the same route again. This time, her car was working perfectly. Still, she slowed near the repair shop. She told herself it was coincidence. But she stopped. Daniel was outside, organizing tools. He looked up and recognized her. His expression was polite but distant. Maya stepped out and greeted him. Her voice was different now, less sharp. She asked if he remembered her. Daniel nodded and said he did. There was a pause. Maya felt uncomfortable, something she rarely experienced. She apologized for her comment. The words did not come easily, but they were honest. Daniel listened quietly and accepted the apology without drama. He said people say things when they feel powerful. What matters is what they do next. Maya felt a strange mix of relief and curiosity. She asked about his work. Daniel spoke simply about engines, learning from experience, and trusting patience. His words were clear and grounded. For the first time, Maya listened without interrupting. Before leaving, she asked if he would be interested in visiting her company to look at some machinery issues they were facing. Daniel hesitated, then agreed. As Maya drove away again, she felt something shift inside her. This was not about business anymore. It was about seeing the world differently. Neither of them knew it yet, but this meeting was only the beginning of a story that would challenge pride, change beliefs, and reveal truths both had ignored for years. The next morning, Daniel woke up before sunrise as he always did. His life followed a steady rhythm. Wake up early. Open the shop. Fix what was broken. He liked simple routines because they kept his mind clear. What happened with Maya stayed in his thoughts, but he did not allow it to distract him. People came and went. Work remained. Across the city, Maya sat in her office staring at a report she had already read twice. Her mind was not on numbers or charts. It was on a small repair shop and a mechanic who spoke with honesty instead of fear. That unsettled her more than any business risk. Maya was not used to apologizing. In her world, people apologized to her. Still, she felt her apology to Daniel had been necessary. For the first time in years, she questioned how often she judged others before understanding them. Later that day, Maya instructed her assistant to arrange a visit for Daniel to the main factory. The machines there had been causing repeated delays. Engineers with degrees and titles had failed to fix the issue fully. Maya wanted Daniel's practical insight. When Daniel arrived at the factory, he felt out of place. The building was large, clean, and filled with people in formal clothes. Some employees glanced at him with curiosity and doubt. He noticed their looks but stayed calm. Maya greeted him personally and walked him through the factory floor. She explained the problem clearly. Daniel listened closely and asked questions that surprised the engineers. He wanted to understand how the machine behaved, not just how it was designed. Soon, Daniel found the root cause. A small alignment issue had been ignored because it did not appear serious on paper. Daniel adjusted it carefully. The machine began working smoothly again. The engineers stood silent. Maya watched closely. She felt a mix of pride and humility. She realized skill was not always tied to education or appearance. Word spread quickly through the factory. People began to look at Daniel differently. Maya noticed this shift and reflected on how easily opinions could change when results appeared. Over the next few weeks, Maya invited Daniel to consult more often. Their conversations grew longer. Sometimes they talked about machines. Sometimes about life. Daniel spoke about growing up learning from his father, fixing engines piece by piece. He believed patience and respect were more valuable than speed and pride. Maya listened carefully. His words felt grounded and real. Maya shared little about her past, but Daniel sensed pressure behind her confidence. He did not push her. He understood silence could also speak. As they worked together, Maya noticed changes in herself. She began treating her staff differently. She asked more questions and spoke less sharply. People noticed. Some were surprised. Others were relieved. Still, not everyone approved. A senior manager named Victor felt threatened. He believed Daniel did not belong in their environment. He whispered doubts and made subtle remarks about Daniel's background. Maya noticed these behaviors and felt anger rise. One afternoon, Victor confronted Maya privately. He suggested Daniel was only being favored out of guilt. His words crossed a line. Maya responded firmly. She made it clear that respect and results mattered more than image. She warned Victor that discrimination would not be tolerated. Daniel later heard about the incident from another worker. He felt uneasy. He did not want to be the reason for conflict. That evening, he visited Maya's office. He told her he appreciated the opportunity but did not want special treatment. He said respect should be equal, not forced. Maya listened quietly. She realized she had more to learn. She assured him that fairness was her responsibility and that his place was earned. That night, Maya stayed late at the office. She reflected on her leadership and the moment she had mocked Daniel. She saw how that single comment represented years of unchecked behavior. Days later, Maya attended a community event focused on local workers and small businesses. It was an event she would normally skip. This time, she stayed. Daniel was there too, invited for his work. They spoke casually, away from titles and roles. Maya saw how others respected him for his kindness and reliability. She realized respect built quietly could be stronger than respect demanded loudly. As weeks turned into months, their connection deepened. Not romantic yet, but meaningful. Built on understanding. Maya began visiting the repair shop often, sometimes just to talk. Daniel welcomed her without judgment. One evening, as the shop closed, Maya looked around and smiled. She admitted that her life felt fuller than before. Daniel nodded and said growth often begins with discomfort. Maya knew he was right. What began as mockery had turned into a mirror reflecting her own flaws. And she was finally brave enough to look. By the time winter arrived, Maya Lewis was no longer the same person she had been months earlier. The sharp edge in her voice had softened. Her steps were slower, more thoughtful. People around her noticed the change even if they did not fully understand it. Leadership, to Maya, was becoming less about control and more about connection. Daniel continued his work as he always had. He fixed engines, helped customers, and kept his shop running with quiet pride. He did not chase recognition. Yet recognition seemed to follow him now. Word had spread about his work at the factory. More people visited his shop. Some came with curiosity. Others came with respect. Maya and Daniel met often, sometimes at the factory, sometimes at the shop, and sometimes simply over coffee. Their conversations were honest. They spoke about responsibility, fear, and the weight of expectations. Maya admitted that she often felt alone at the top. Daniel shared how being underestimated had shaped his patience. One evening, Maya invited Daniel to a company dinner. It was a formal event with investors and executives. Daniel hesitated. He knew he would stand out. Maya reassured him and said his presence mattered. At the dinner, eyes turned when they entered together. Whispers followed. Some people smiled politely. Others judged silently. Daniel stayed calm. Maya noticed how straight he stood, not with pride, but with self-respect. During the event, a major investor spoke publicly. He praised Maya's recent leadership changes and mentioned the improved factory performance. He acknowledged Daniel's contribution by name. The room grew quiet for a moment, then filled with applause. Maya looked at Daniel and smiled. Not a proud smile, but a grateful one. Later that night, Maya thanked Daniel for trusting her world despite its flaws. Daniel replied that trust grew when actions changed. A few days later, Maya made a decision that surprised many. She announced a new program within her company focused on skill-based opportunities. Titles would matter less. Results and integrity would matter more. She invited Daniel to help design the program. Some resisted. Others welcomed it. Maya stood firm. Victor, the senior manager who had shown bias before, resigned shortly after. Maya accepted his resignation without regret. She knew leadership required courage. As the months passed, Maya found herself drawn more deeply into Daniel's world. She spent time at the repair shop, learning small things about engines and larger things about people. Daniel never treated her as a CEO there. She was simply Maya. One quiet afternoon, Maya confessed something she had never said out loud. She admitted that her mocking comment that first day was one of the greatest mistakes of her life. It represented the person she no longer wanted to be. Daniel listened carefully. He told her forgiveness was not about forgetting the past, but choosing to grow beyond it. Maya felt tears form, not from sadness, but from release. Their bond slowly shifted. It became warmer, more personal, still steady and respectful. One evening, after closing the shop, Daniel asked Maya to take a walk nearby. The air was calm. The city lights glowed softly in the distance. Daniel stopped and spoke honestly. He said he never expected respect or affection from someone like Maya. But he had found both. He said he admired her courage to change. Maya looked at him, her heart steady and clear. She said she admired his strength to stay kind in a world that tested him. There was no grand gesture, no dramatic promise, just truth. They chose each other quietly. News of their relationship spread slowly. Some people reacted with surprise, some with doubt, others with admiration. Maya did not care. For the first time, she felt grounded. Months later, Maya stood on a stage at a company event. She spoke about leadership, humility, and learning from mistakes. She told a story without naming names, about how underestimating someone had changed her life. The audience listened closely. Daniel watched from the side, proud but humble. In the end, the joke that once held disrespect had transformed into a lesson. Not about marriage but about worth. Maya learned that power without understanding was empty. Daniel learned that patience could open unexpected doors. They built a future not on status, but on respect. And that was the greatest repair of all.